Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to the only real true messiah when it comes to Chris Chan's life, and I should know, I followed a few myself, is the actual living, breathing Sonic the Hedgehog character himself. Something that I feel like kind of almost gets a little bit lost in the shuffle a little bit sometimes when we talk about Chris. Outside of literally every single thing else that Chris is infamous for. But let's not forget, it was also Sonic the Hedgehog that had just a bigger role. Remember, Sonichu was both Pikachu as well as Sonic the Hedgehog. So, what else are we waiting for? Let's get to it. From the 2020 live-action film, I looked up to the Sonic the Hedgehog as my lifelong hero because he's not only quick in the feet, but also in the head. Interesting. So, Sonic the Hedgehog is a blue... Oh, what a great start. Sonic the Hedgehog is a blue-armed fictional character that was created by Sega in order to serve as their main mascot, replacing Alex Kidd, as well as to compete against Nintendo's Mario. He is also one of the primary characters from which the much-beloved comic book hero Sonichu draws inspiration. Like many locals on the internet, Chris is a big fan of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Oh, come on, that's not particularly very fair to say. I mean, I was a big fan of Sonic the Hedgehog when I was a lot younger, and so is my younger cousin, and he's 20 years younger than me. So, interestingly enough, we were sort of like fans of Sonic at the same time, curiously enough. Chris claims that the Sonic has been his lifelong hero since June of 1990, replacing the American Rabbit in terms of overall importance. Chris confirmed his loyalty to Sonic in 2014 when Sega's outrageous decision to change a non-canonical Sonic's arms colors to blue forced Chris to vandalize stores and physically injure employees. And by the way, this is Sonic in Sonichu. I know it's if you're unfamiliar, these are like it's the actual sequence to follow Sonichu is rapid and very, very confusing. But apparently, he's male, 3 feet 3 tall, 35 kilos, species hedgehog, and arm color blue. Dear oh dear. History. Chris likely first learned about Sonic from the first game being promoted in magazines and television in 1991, involving the basic plot of Sonic running around to defeat Dr. Robotnik, who was portrayed as a plump, egotistical man who would endeavour to conquer Mobius and destroy Sonic, failing spectacularly each time. In 1993, 2 cartoon adaptations of the games aired concurrently with each other. Sonic the Hedgehog, often referred to as Sonic Sat AM, a genuinely serious and story-driven show that aired on ABC. Hang on a minute, Sonic Sat AM and The Adventures of Sonic, they both came out at the same time? I genuinely did not know that. I thought Sonic Sat AM was like 96 or 97. I genuinely did not know there was. Go figure. You learn something new every day, huh? Because I even remembered, like, they aired reruns of The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog back when I was, like, watching, like, Tiny Pop, when I was, like, about 6 years old. So this would have been about, like, 2004. So they had reruns of Sonic Sat AM, The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and Sonic X were basically... I had access to basically those 3 shows that were going out at the exact... basically being shown on telly at the same time. And bear in mind, I still hadn't learned about, what was it called? Sonic Underground. I don't really remember much about Sonic Underground. I don't think anybody did really, but that's besides the point. A more light-hearted and gag-driven show that aired in syndication. The latter's debut was promoted with a contest that same year, with the grand prize being a $1,000 video game shopping spree. Chris was one of the 2 winners of the shopping spree, and was featured in a news story about the contest. One of the biggest moments, if not the biggest moment, in his early life. I know, and again, to be completely honest, I still think that's one of the best videos about Chris I think I've ever seen, is when he actually won the sweepstakes, because he was still a very young, very innocent, and very impressionable kid, and some may say he sort of still is, or rather he never really matured beyond the age of 8, but make your own conclusions about that if you like. Spreading its influence far and wide, from his decisions to enter other contests to the eventual creation of Sonichu, Chris's loyalty was so strong that he was visibly upset when told by middle school bullies that Sonic was dead. During the late 90s, Chris's obsession with Sonic waned as he became more interested in other franchises, particularly Pokemon. However, it came back with a vengeance in February of 2000, when he received a Sega Dreamcast along with a copy of Sonic Adventure for his 18th birthday. That must have been pretty sweet. It must have been on days like that where Chris was thankful that the Millennium Bug was a complete bust. Chris created Sonichu less than a month later, and has remained hooked on the series ever since. Chris has shown relatively little attention to the title character of Sonic's rival franchise Super Mario, which is curiously considering his militant hatred for the Xbox in favour of the PlayStation. However, Chris does own a few Mario games in his video game collection. It is also known that Chris owns Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped, Crash being another rival of Sonic's. In a video released in July 2016, Chris indirectly and somewhat through not 100% incorrectly acknowledges that the later Sonic the Hedgehog games are poorly received. However, he hilariously didn't grasp the concept, insisting that his original creation could pull Sonic out of the ground. So, I don't even know what I'm even... I mean, let's think about this. Okay, every other video game that had Sonic in past Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure 2, great. Sonic Mega Collection Plus doesn't really count because it's just a collection of old Sega games. Sonic Heroes, awesome. It still remains my favourite video game of all time just because of sheer nostalgia and, well, the fact that the controls are innovative. Even though I had the PS2 version of Sonic Heroes, but I still played it all the same and I loved it. And I will not hear anybody tell me that I will not love it to this day, even after 20 years of playing it. Then what else? Shadow the Hedgehog. We don't talk about that. The other game. What about the other games for like the DS? Like Sonic Rush was good. I didn't play any of the other games for the DS about Sonic. Curiously enough, I only played like the first Rush game. Sonic the Hedgehog 06. Moving on. Sonic Unleashed. Moving on. Sonic Colors. Not bad. Sonic and the Secret Rings. Okay, I guess. Sonic and the Black Knight. Never watched, but nobody ever talks about it either. Sonic Mania or what? And then something blah blah. A lot of the teen games like throughout the 2010s were not great. So, really, you could say, like, the last great Sonic the Hedgehog game was, Sonic Colors, easily. But then before that, it would have been Sonic Heroes. Huh. Interesting. Notable multimedia. Comics. Sonic comics are almost as numerous as the games themselves, pumped out at whim for $1. They even made series specific for each region of the world. The one Chris is familiar with is the one published by Archie Comics, published in, obviously, America. Chris has hinted at and mentioned that he is familiar with the comic series, and the layout of his comics tends to replicate the style of the early Archie Sonic covers. Ritnox calling Chris Prime Chan in the comic may be a reference to the character Scrooge the Hedgehog, an evil version of Sonic from another dimension. Sonic is referred to as Sonic Prime when dealing with interdimensional storylines. Chris also has been known to trace images from an early special version of the comic, Super Sonic vs. Hyper Knuckles, for the basis of some of his fight scenes, and one of the early shorts entitled Sonichu 25 Years Later takes its name from a 2004 arc called Mobius 25 Years Later. Wherever he still reads the comics now or not is unknown. He has stated that he would like Sonichu to be published by Archie Comics. If Chris still reads it, it will probably be a source of plagiarism and mass debating for years to come. Oh, you got that right. Starting in April 2010, Sony began releasing the Archie Sonic comics for download via the PlayStation Network. The likelihood that Chris has purchased them? Close to 100%. Whether he read them? We don't quite know. Sonic Boom. In June 2014, Chris announced he was boycotting the TV and video game series Sonic Boom because of the fact that they changed the colour of Sonic's arms from a flesh colour to blue. Chris claims that this U-turn in design has caused him to literally lose a bunch of sleep and peace of mind. This was later enforced in October, when he posted 2 photos of himself holding up a Sonic doll with a grim face. Note that Sonic Boom is not considered canon and the colour change is probably not permanent. Furthermore, the fact that Chris focuses exclusively on Sonic's blue arms instead of any of the other changes made to the character designs raises a lot of question, such as Sonic's new neckerchief. It is also worth mentioning that even Chris's White Knights, including William Elliott Waterman, criticised him for overreacting instead of defending it. The discouragement evidently only fanned the flames, however. Chris's anger towards the game only worsened and ended up getting him in deep trouble, as we'll see in a moment. On the 17th of November 2014, in a post to the Facebook group Keep Sonic Original, Chris revealed that his tarred rage extended to getting into a dispute with several Blue Arm promoters, the security Jane Cop and the manager at the Charlottesville Target. The focus of Chris's debate was the sensory overloading of the Blue Arms, and how the Target store should not stock games based on popular demand, but instead based on Chris's whims and requests. Although Chris claims that the discussion ended peacefully, he still went on to encourage the people of Keep Sonic Original to help their noble cause by harassing the 2 Jane Cops involved into sending the Sonic Boom stock back to their manufacturers, as if more security had any influence over that. Chris's rage fulminated when, on the 26th of December 2014, he went to his local GameStop, which he was banned from, to vandalize Sonic Boom store merchandise, maced a bystander employee on his way out, and got arrested for breaking 3 laws in a single day. Sonic Forces. A 2017 video game with the ability to create customized Sonic characters. Chris purchased 3 copies... Chris purchased 3 copies of the exact same game for each of his consoles. What? Why? What? In the middle of the financial crisis? Moving on. Film. Sonic. Main article. The Sonic. Okay, we might talk about that later. The actual. Actually, you know that. The only things you really need to know about like the actual film is that Chris went from hating it to criticizing Robotnik, saying that on a blah blah blah, says he hated it, and then he went to go out and see it, and then ended up actually loving the film. That's literally all you need to know, and that's exactly how it went. The moral of the story is, don't judge a book by its cover. Moving on. Sonic World fan game. Chris became interested in the fan game Sonic World, which allows modded characters, in October 2020, and used a fan mod of Sonichu, recording soundbites for the character as well as for Magi-chan, Roseu, and Chris-chan Sonichu. References to Chris. On the 13th of January 2012, a Sega of America employee jokingly called a supersonic plush toy Sonichu in a Free Stuff Friday video. So we may as well skip to 350.
Our licensing group gives us stuff to give away, so this is actually available for purchase somewhere, and we'll track that down for the blog, hopefully. We've had a pretty good track record for that. This is Supersonic. I actually really like the way that this turned out.
I missed it actually.
Ooh, I see what you did there.
Yeah. Next up?
I don't know how you divided these, so.
This is on its own?
Sonichu?
No. Our licensing group
They just sort of had no words, and they just decided they were going to have to move past that as soon as they called it. Chris saw the video and commented, then he filed it under a YouTube playlist titled Trolling Stupid. I do not find that commentary funny at all. In fact, I feel pissed off to be ridiculed so lightly. I don't really know what they were ridiculing. They were just saying, was it Sonichu? That's literally all they said, and they just jokingly laughed about it. I don't really know exactly what there was to be ridiculed about that. Sonic mentions Sonichu on Twitter. On the 10th of July 2015, the official Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter account joked about Sonichu and Bloms. A fan asked, "Will I be able to play as Sonichu in Sonic Boom Fire and Ice?" Sonic replied, "Maybe, but only if we give Sonichu blue arms, 3 scarves, and ultimately just redesign him as Big the Cat." A troll tried to notify Chris that Sonic was mocking him, but he believed it to be fake. That is fake, you dumb flake. Chris somehow becoming self-aware in the span of only a few years is, well, something that doesn't last, but Chris should have known it was fake since he follows the account on Twitter. It is not a fake since he follows it on Twitter. Okay, I take back what I said. 2 later tweets also made minor mentions of Sonichu. The first was on the 9th of March 2016, in which Dr. Eggman attempts to cancel getting Big the Cat facts on his phone by texting his favourite Sonic character, but is told that his favourite Sonic character is Sonichu. The second was on the 29th of April 2016, where Sonichu is one possible name on a What's Your Sonic Name chart making fun of the original characters in the Sonic fandom. That's kind of actually really funny, the fact that Sonichu is so notorious that even Sega couldn't actually deny this. Sonic Boom pickle joke. In Double Doomsday, Episode 7 of Sonic Boom, Sonic orders a hamburger with no pickles and instead is served with extra pickles. In Chris's "Fix Sonic's arms immediately, Sega" Facebook group, he posted about the pickle joke and took a neutral stance on it. 10th of December 2014. I know well I said not to talk about the show much or post any spoilers. This time though, I am willing to make this exception. I have heard it that in the show, Sonic ordered a sandwich with no pickles, but is served the sandwich with extra pickles. I feel neutral and indifferent about the joke, but my friend read a bit into it as a possible reference to myself, as well as a possible middle finger gesture to me from Sega. Being serious and sincere, no sarcasm or jokes, what do y'all think/feel from this lame pickled vegetable joke? Answer in the comments of this post. Now, when time passed and they didn't do this, and in case you're wondering what this is about, well, we'll explain. Sonic Boom parody. Episode 57 of the Sonic Boom animated series, titled The Biggest Fan, parodies the Sonic fanbase. Several references, whether intentional or coincidental, matching with classic Chris. The fan in question, Mark the Tapir, is an overweight nerd with large glasses, short greasy hair and a spiked fringe, and a big circular Sonic patch on a button-up collar shirt. Does that remind you of anyone? Mark the Tapir has an awkward lack of social awareness, similar to Chris's autism, and is especially reminiscent of his clingy, stalkerish behaviour around Megan and Catherine. At the 2:43 mark, Mark orders orange soda. At the 5:15 mark, there is a reference to blue arms complete with matching fan art. Mark attempting vehicular manslaughter on Sonic, like Chris did with Michael Snyder. Collectible plates are mentioned, possible made out of Crayola fucking model magic. Sonic has a Tails hat placed on him at one point, making him look like he has big yellow ears. Mark is shown to be into writing NSFW fanfiction of Sonic, with Sonic picking out one and sarcastically mentioning "Sonami, oh spicy." And yeah, I've never watched it myself, but yikes! It even looks as though like the glasses are damaged, and it's like Model Magic was prepared to like fix it. This could not have been unintentional. This had to have been. They were talking about it, and by the way, that's like again just Sonic with a chili dog right there, and I don't know if it's even like the clown shoes. It looks like he's wearing freaking clown shoes, and I can't even... Okay, I can't really make that any bigger, but good lord. There are no words. The episode aired on the 10th of December 2016. 3 days later, Chris viewed the episode and saw no resemblance to himself in Mark. Also hearing of Sonic Boom's The Biggest Fan episode, I found and watched it. Despite the segment on the arm colour in the portrait and the common fat glasses and hair on Mark the Tapir, and there was no mention of hidden cameo of Sonichu anywhere in the episode. I personally see no resemblance of myself in the Mark character, especially in how far he took it to keep being able to be near Sonic. I am not mental or crazy like that at all. No, but you can't help but see the resemblance even a little bit, Chris. The episode's writers, Doug Lieblich and Bill Friedberger, responded to questions on Twitter about the episode. Lieblich said that he's not based on anyone specific, just an obsessive fan character. Not too sure if I believe that, but Freiberger also denied that Mark was based on Chris. But he didn't know who Chris was. That's one thing. And unlike Lieblich, he knows who Chris is. Yeah, exactly, he knows who Chris is, saying Mark is 100% not based on Christian Weston Chandler. He is a general fan type. We've done many Blue Arm jokes in the series, not a clue. Okay, I feel like they're pulling my leg a little bit on that. Sonic Boom writers joke about Sonichu. On the 10th of January 2018, Alan Denton, a writer for Sonic Boom, joked about Sonichu on Twitter. I love when people are inspired enough by something to write their own fan fiction. Totally support that. But, and I can't believe I have to say this, if you then insist to the creators that your made-up story became canon, you've gone too far. Whisper silently to my folder of Sonichu fanfic, but not you, you'll be canon one day. Or likely fired out of a canon. Denton was a writer on the Double Doomsday episode and story editor for the Biggest Fan episodes of the show. Maybe he was the one who came up with the idea to base on Chris. IGN Movie Quiz. On the 7th of February 2020, IGN uploaded a video in which James Marsden, the actor playing Tom Wachowski in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, is quizzed on his knowledge of Sonic trivias. One question being if Sonichu is an unlockable character in Sonic Forces, Marsden replies, "What is a Sonichu?" Let's hope to God Marsden does not know to this day, because I think it's better if people don't know at this point. Role in the comics. Sonic first appears in Sonichu issue 0 as Super Sonic battling the perfect Chaos Monster in Station Square. Whilst battling him, a Pikachu comes to fight the perfect Chaos Monster and is tackled by Sonichu. The power of the Chaos Emeralds mutates said Pikachu into Sonic, or emotes into Sonichu, who then defeats Perfect Chaos by bullshit, I imagine, but it's one of those things. Bullshit is a very common theme in a lot of Sonichu stories and plot elements, so make of that what you will. In the following issue, he crashes into Sonichu again. After recognizing each other, they team up in order to rescue Roschu from the clutches of Black Sonichu. This would later be retconned into Sonic having been Sylvia in disguise. Other than being the catalyst for the creation of Sonichu and teaming up with him in the second issue, Sonic serves no other purpose. He disappears after issue 1, never mentioned again until Sonichu issue 11, where Robbie sickeningly refers to him as Uncle Sonic. Sonic returns in the Clip Show episodes of Sonichu issue 11 and 12, where Sonichu and he discuss the past. He is shocked by the new comic Chris, now a tomgirl. Tails' lack of role in the series. Miles Tails Prower is Sonic's sidekick, and has been in the franchise since Sonic the Hedgehog 2, was released in 1992 for the Sega Genesis. He has been featured in almost every form of Sonic-related media, such as cartoons, anime, and comic books. As such, many have been perplexed on why neither he nor an idiot rip-off likely named Praolu Sonichu has a role in Sonichu. An orange character who's probably meant to be Tails can be seen in the background of a scrapbook drawing of Sonic and Sonichu. And he is also briefly featured in a fan comic Panda Halo made and Chris added to Sonichu issue 10. But other than that, neither Tails nor a recolor of him appear in the Sonichu universe. Chris has refused to include Tails in his comics, despite ripping off Knuckles and Shadow and featuring an Autobot named Prower. Contrary to what some believe, it is not likely Tails was omitted because of the rumours, made by 13-year-olds on Gamer FAQs and Newsgrounds, that Sonic and Tails were a gay couple. Chris said that, "I just did not feel a need for a Tails-like character in the stories. I disagree with all the rumours against Tails. If you read the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book series from Archie Comics, Tails gets a girlfriend." He later claims that he did not feel it appropriate for Tails to be in my comic. Despite this, Chris did create 2 Tails-like Pokemon named Evalis and Superion, an evolution of the former, though they only appeared on the Wall of Originals. Tails also gets a mention in Sonichu and Roseu, the genesis of the Love Hogs, a Sonichu short story which predates the comics. Chris believes that a gender-bent version of Tails, a fan-made character named Tailsko, exists in a gender-bent dimension. Wild might be the closest a Sonichu character has ever come to ripping off Tails, while they're nothing alike in their looks or personalities, or lack thereof, in the case of the former. Wild does state in Sonichu issue 3 that he can use his tail as a propeller, an ability also shared by Chris. Amy Rose. Oh my god, okay, I'm absolutely going to have to censor that. Oh boy. Amy Rose is a Sonic character created in 1993, making her first appearance in the game Sonic CD. She serves as the self-proclaimed love interest of Sonic the Hedgehog, in fleshing out, oh you could say that twice, the world of Sonichu. Chris quickly ripped off the character to serve as Sonichu's girlfriend, Roseu. While Chris at least made an effort to disguise Sonichu's source material by recoloring him, Roseu is nearly indistinguishable from Amy Rose. Like Amy Rose, Roseu has green eyes and a pink fur, with the spines of the head arranged to resemble a bob haircut. Both wear red boots and dresses, with Roseu's having a blue trim in a slightly different pattern to Amy's white trim. Visually, the only obvious distinction between the two is in the Raichu tail Roseu has, and the spines on the centre of Amy's forehead, whilst Roseu lacks. It should be noted, however, that when Chris draws Amy, he fails to draw the forehead spines properly, resulting in an even closer resemblance. Major differences between Amy and Rosie. Amy has never had spines on her back, the clothes are different, Rosie's headband is white, not red, and Roseu has a modern girl kinda attitude. And lucky for her, Sonichu rarely runs away from her charms, and of course, she has electric type attacks to boot. That's what Chris considers to be the be-all and end-all, to say they're different, I suppose. As Chris points out, the only real difference between Amy and Roseu in terms of characterization is that while Amy's crush on Sonic is unreciprocated, Sonichu has been sucking face with Roseu since the day they met. Obviously, this hardly marks a difference in their personality. If anything, it says more about the differences between Sonic and Sonichu, since they respond differently to affection. Since she's already made her romantic conquest, Roseu is free to pursue the life of a modern girl, which apparently means raping people's faces and producing terrifying amateur pornography. As an epilogue to the Sonichu/Sonic team-up in Sonichu issue 1, Roseu appears to meet Amy in Quickville Mall, with no hint of irony. The two remark upon how similar they are and engage in a vapid conversation about shopping and relationships. I could show you both of them, but literally there's no point. Even Chris interjects saying, blah blah blah, this is too boring, let's get out of here. Shadow the Hedgehog. Introduced in 2001's Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow the Hedgehog is an anti-hero version of Sonic the Hedgehog, as he quickly became a fan favourite among the Sonic family of characters and the Trolls. It was only a matter of time before Chris decided to create another electric hedgehog Pokemon. Unlike Roseu, who is virtually identical to Amy, Black Sonichu, later retconned to be called Blake, only resembles Shadow in his colour scheme and tenuous allegiance to the forces of evil. While Shadow is primarily motivated by his desire to learn about his mysterious past, Black Sonichu was informed of every aspect of his creation by Natesurk. Most notably, while Shadow is intended to be a dark and edgier character, Black Sonichu is basically just a punk, committing blatant mischief for very transparent motives. While this might not seem to make Black Sonichu halfway original, it really only means he's a poor copy of Sonichu, instead of a slightly less poor copy of Shadow. Blake's only real claim to individuality was that he acted like an asshole since falling for Bubbles in Sonichu issue 7. He doesn't even have that going for him. Shadow makes one appearance in the Sonichu canon when he shows up as a drummer for Christian and the Hedgehog Boys, but is later replaced by Punchy Sonichu, a Shadow doll which was also held by Chris in Divine Trial, substituting for Clyde Cash. The same Shadow doll is in the background for Julie's Eyes Only. Chris claims that Shadow is currently living in C-197. And finally, plagiarism. To put it bluntly, Sonichu is a copyright infringement. Chris tries to work around this fact by claiming that Sonichu is a parody of Sonic the Hedgehog, but Chris clearly does not understand what the word means, as Sonichu does not derive humour or provide commentary on the original franchise. And this is basically the everything you need to know. Chris drew this between the ages of 8 and 8, and even here Sonic's arms are blue, and well, there's not much else really to add. It's kind of what you see is what you get, and let's just get out of here and all that, because I feel like we've seen just about all we need to see. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen, and because I mean, outside of that one image of Amy Rose that I'm probably gonna have to I'm not going to be able to sleep well tonight after seeing that, so I apologize if anyone else has had to see that as well. So it's become obvious that throughout this article, it's more the fact that Sonic is just Chris's idol and is sort of the main source for the sort of adventures he wanted to create for his world, which is good in theory, but in practice it just makes Chris couldn't have just done it with maybe just made humanoid characters with color schemes as well, and then made them fight the forces of evil. Not quite like Power Rangers, but maybe something a bit different to Power Rangers, if that makes sense. Well, whatever the case may be, it's good to know that, again, Sonic still serves as the fastest thing alive, and probably the closest thing resembling perfection in Chris's mind, and possibly one of the few people who is not classified as a jerk. So, good job, Sonic, and good job, Sega. So, I hope all of you have enjoyed this article on actually reading about Sonic the Hedgehog in relation to Chris, and I cannot wait to see all of you guys again in the next video. Once again, there was literally no mention about if Chris ever saw Sonic X at all, which it would be surprising, because I imagine, because there are parts of it that are largely inspired by the Sonic adventure games, and also the fact that Sonic's main companion is a kid called Chris Thorndyke. You would have thought that, again, the name semblance would have been, whatever, I'm looking too much into it. Anyway, that's all she wrote, and I cannot wait to see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.